79 of Good Luck High Five.
That's right. You're listening to a podcast that's for you if you play Magic the Gathering. Whether you are already super excited for New Capenna, which is somehow just around the corner.
Somehow, very strange world we live in.
Or maybe the new Commander Legends set that has been announced is more up your alley. Either way, we are here for you.
I'm one of your hosts, Maria.
I'm another one of your hosts, Megan.
And on today's show, we're going to talk about 5 tips on how to become a better Magic player.
Yes, this was recently a discourse on Twitter.
Yes.
And so we're going to hop in, follow along, give you our own hot tips.
Yeah.
That come to mind, and also go over some of what we think are the best recommendations from players out there.
You know, even if you're like, I'm happy with my game, where my game is at right now or whatever, it's always nice to take a moment to pause and reflect and think about what people have to say about, hey, maybe there's this little thing you can do to make yourself a better player and get yourself more of those dubs.
Exactly. How could Kiki Jiki have become a mirror breaker if he didn't first pause and reflect in the mirror?
Wow, that is very good. That is very good. Very true. Kiki Jiki would still be, would just be looking in mirrors.
Exactly. And
not
what
smashing
good would that
them.
do? We'll also have a Neon Dynasty Storytime.
Yes.
Plus, of course, the Scryfall Randomizer.
I apologize, everybody, if I seem a little weird on this podcast. It's because I was on a plane recently and my ears still have not popped.
That's so uncomfortable.
Everything feels like, first of all, it's painful. Second of all, everything, I feel like my head's in a bottle of water. My head can fit in a bottle of water. It's very small. In a bucket of water. Or like those characters when, a bomb goes off, characters or real people, when a bomb goes off next to them, in the movie, they're like, and they can't hear anything for a little bit. That's me right now.
Did you try doing a nasal rinse?
I tried all of the things. Not a nasal rinse. I don't have a neti pot, but I tried the blowing, holding your nose, the blowing a balloon, the sucking on hard candy, the swallowing, the yawning. Yeah.
Wow.
Everything that Google told me to do. So we'll see how I am in a couple days. Otherwise, I'm going to have a doctor with an ice pick and he's going to get in there.
No.
Maria accidentally lobotomizes herself trying to pop her ears. It is a very strange experience, everybody. But before we start our show, the most important part of the show yet.
Yes.
Which is thanking everybody who supports us on patreon.com/GLHF Magic.
Yes, thank you especially to a new patron in the last week, Thomas.
Yay, thank you, Thomas.
Thank you, Thomas, for being the only thing between us and the sad trombone noise.
Yeah, Thomas is standing there like that gif of somebody playing a tuba into somebody else's face. Thomas is right there.
Is there being like, no. Don't do it. So if you would like to be the sole savior of all of our listeners from sad trombone noise, become a patron or increase your pledge before next week's episode.
I just want everybody to know that being a patron of Good Luck High Five doesn't only support this podcast, but also the Upkeep, which is our Magic news show that we do every week, which is awesome. I love that show. It also supports our board game content at youtube.com/GLHF board games.
It also supports all of the cool videos that we get to bring you, like the Commander deck battles.
Yes.
Which are always a very good time. Box openings. Everything would not be possible without you. So thank you so very much. And if you happen to have a few dollars that you could spare, we would so appreciate you sending it our way. It only takes a second.
I wanted to mention the board game specifically because we have a really cool new video out this week on the channel, which you can go check out now, which is, does your board game shelf pass the Bechdel test?
Yeah, we talk about some really great games by women and non-binary designers to help you diversify your board game shelf and also just bring some great games to it if you haven't heard of these games. They are bangers.
Yeah, we've got some true bangers on that list.
Yes.
Recommend all of them extremely highly. Obviously.
Ever freaking heard of it?
Wingspan, the greatest game that's ever been invented.
Very good.
10, a new game that we are obsessed with. Good. Plus a million others. Go check it out. youtube.com/GLHF board games. Big shout out as well to our sponsor, Card Kingdom.
Yes, cardkingdom.com/GLHF, the place to go for all of your Magic needs.
You know, Card Kingdom also has amazing stores that you can check out IRL.
So cool.
If you're in person in Seattle, Portland, soon they're opening one in Chandler, Arizona. I just went to the Portland one.
Whoa,
by the way. Yes.
How was it?
That's where I was on the plane, by the way, everybody. I blame Portland for my ears. It was incredible.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
of course.
You walk in there, they have every game known to exist in humanity. Plus, just like their Seattle locations, they've got a beautiful place to eat, a full bar. You can play games from their library there. I'm just jealous we don't have one here because
Chandler, Arizona. How did you become the luckiest place on earth?
I know. It was just gorgeous, and it just reminded me how spectacular their stores are.
Yeah.
And everybody check them out. Card Kingdom, the greatest place to buy on the internet or in real life.
All right, Maria, it's time for the Scryfall randomizer.
Let's go. Random me, buddy. Random me.
All right, I'm going to show you this art.
Excellent.
Here you go. What do you see?
Oh, is this Neon Dynasty variant art? Holy cow. We randomed into a really cool alternate art style of a card in Neon Dynasty. That's what I'm seeing.
Think it's an alternate art. It's a normal art.
This is a normal art?
It's a normal art from Neon Dynasty.
Oh my God. Okay, so really what we're seeing here is what looks like a giant samurai standing on a street. They're about 10 times taller than everybody on the street, including the buildings. It's nighttime. Purple is the main color. If this is the actual card art, I've got to say I'm not quite sure what it is. I'm not paying enough attention to the Neon Dynasty arts when I play. Oh my gosh. Okay, well I'm going to say this is a black card, and I'm really ashamed that I don't know what it is from the current set.
It is
unbelievable.
The first time that we've gotten a card from the current set.
Yeah, that's true.
All right, Maria. The card is Aki Warpaint.
This is Aki Warpaint.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is the unplayable red card.
It is. Has the worst draft win record.
The worst, literal last place.
Yes.
What does this do? It's an aura for like 1 in a red, and it gives +3/+2 or something like that.
Yeah, it's a single red aura. Enchanted creature gets +2/+1.
Wow.
Oh, actually, you can enchant an artifact or a creature, of course, because vehicles.
There is no way I would have ever thought that this was the art on this card. No wonder I haven't seen
never
it.
Looked at this art.
Literally nobody has ever drafted this card. Wow. Well, I guess that explains it.
The art is very good.
It's really cool. I'm sad this cool art is an unplayable card.
If you haven't looked at the art for Aki Warpaint, go take a look at it by Jeremy Wilson.
Yeah, check it out.
Very good.
Beautiful. Wow. I am.
All right. Also exciting, our very first current set randomizer.
That's so true. Okay. Check out this art, Megan. Tell me what you think this card does after explaining the art to everybody.
Okay.
It's pretty good art.
What I'm looking at is 2 goblins in a forest. One goblin is pulling the other, there's a big goblin that's pulling a slingshot, and the second smaller goblin is in the slingshot holding a giant, serrated blade.
It's great.
So it is obviously some kind of goblin slingshot situation.
Okay, great. I mean, that's close enough on the card name. So I'll give you
goblin slingshot
situation. This is Sling Gang Lieutenant.
Oh, yep. Uh-huh.
Okay, so this was printed in Modern Horizons.
Oh, interesting.
So you might remember it from that. It was also in Jumpstart Historic Horizons.
Wow.
So
okay.
We've seen it recently. What do you think this card does?
I'm going to say, I'm just going to go with a lighter version of Siege Gang Commando.
Yeah, right.
I'm going to go, this one is 3 in a red for a 2/2 that when it enters the battlefield, you create another 1/1 goblin, and you can pay 1 in a red and sacrifice a goblin to have it deal 1 damage to any target.
I mean, you're very nearly correct, except that this is a black card.
What?
This is a black card, everybody. 3 in a black. For a creature goblin at uncommon, when Sling Gang Lieutenant enters the battlefield, create 2 1/1 red goblin creature tokens.
Whoa.
So that's weird.
Yeah.
Sacrifice a goblin, target player loses 1 life and you gain 1 life. It's a 1/1. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Almost got it right on the nose.
I'm pretty proud.
That's really impressive.
Very surprised that it's a black card, but okay. It makes red goblins.
It makes red goblins.
Wow. Very cool.
The art is great.
The art is so well conveying
by Craig Spearing.
Yes.
A plus.
Really conveying what the card is all about here. I I just love that there's the big goblin is obviously, and then like the little goblin is in the slingshot.
Does the little goblin look like they're like, yes,
suit me up, coach. Like they're having a great time.
Put me in the slingshot.
Yeah.
Would you allow yourself to be slingshot?
In my current state, no.
What do you mean? In my pupa state, yes.
If I was a goblin version of myself, then yes. I guess feel like
as a human, you can do it if you go to a theme park.
I was gonna say, actually, yes. If it was like something where you were like, they were like slingshotted you, onto a giant trampoline. So you land and you just bounce.
They do it like you're in the giant slingshot and they sling you into the air. Though, would you do that?
Yeah.
Ooh, all right. Theme park, let's go.
I mean, would I be terrified the entire time?
Well, yeah, yes, obviously. Have you seen the videos of people who do it and they like pass out? They're so afraid, but then they wake up and they're still in their worst nightmare.
No. Wow.
So they pass out. They're like, I can't handle this. My body's shutting down. They wake up and they're like, no, it's still happening. Anyway, those exist on the internet. Okay, everybody, we're going to talk about 5 tips to becoming a better Magic player. This was initially tweeted out on Twitter, of course.
At Imperial Seal MTG.
Yes. So they initially tweeted this out, and there was a lot of good responses. And we wanted to talk about some of the responses because every once in a while, like we said at the top of the show, it's good to take a moment, take a step back, and evaluate what you could be doing to up your game.
Yeah. So, I feel like, Maria, what do you feel like has been most recently like your turning point in becoming better?
Yeah, great question. Great question. I think for myself, the most recent tip that I've taken to heart is keeping an opening hand that has a plan.
Yeah.
And that's the one that I've been thinking about most recently, because especially in a game like Limited, you can keep an opening hand and be like, well, this does stuff. I have lands. I've got spells. Maybe I have a creature. Okay, good enough. But more recently, I've been thinking I really need to keep a hand that's trying to do what my deck wants to do in order to have an edge, especially in best of one, right?
Yeah.
That becomes even more relevant.
For sure.
What about you?
I think mine is going with the data on what cards are good in draft.
Yeah.
Do you know what?
Science.
At the beginning of Neon Dynasty draft, we both mourned
having a struggle.
How bad it was going, how poorly it was going for us. Yeah. It was going abysmally.
Big time
for me.
bad.
It was just like I was just chucking gems out the window. But now, right at this point, I don't remember the last time that I didn't at least get 4 to 5 wins. Like at least breaking even.
Right.
And honestly, mostly 6 and 7s.
Yeah.
And the answer is just that, like, using that 17 lands data of, like, these are the cards that win.
Exactly.
These are the cards that win games when you draw them. And if you just draft those cards, you win games of Magic.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, it's especially important because some of those cards on there, you have to think twice. You wouldn't have picked them before you knew.
Or it's just kind of like something of me being like, oh, but I like this card. Like, like having like a personal preference for a card.
Sure.
Just being like, oh, but I kind of like it. Or like, oh, it could, in theory, do this cool thing.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like, no. Don't go with the, in theory, this might happen.
Cold, hard data.
Go with the cold, hard facts.
Yeah. It is tough. It's super tough, especially for players like me who really like to shape their draft around big, boomy rares that they open.
Yeah.
Which is definitely not always the best thing that you should be doing. Sometimes you got to draft the hard way. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yep. You just got to make like one disciplined pick after another.
Oof, discipline. That word.
It's not exciting.
Hives.
It's not sexy.
No, it's not.
But it sure does get the job done.
All right. So here is the list from the person who tweeted this out in the first place. Number 1, listen and learn. There is always something to learn from the veterans.
Yeah, sure.
Good tip. Yeah.
Sometimes.
Number 2, consume content. Hey, we are here for that. Definitely. There's very good educational and well produced for your advantage. Yeah. So thank you. Yes, we are well produced. Number 3, stop seeing the match only from your point of view. Learn what your opponent thinks.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that makes sense.
I love that tip. Number 4, play more games, play more decks, play different strategies, and practice. You can't be good just knowing how to play one strategy in one deck.
Sure.
Yeah.
I guess I'll play aggros.
And number 5, stop trying to beat everything. Stop playing around cards you can't beat and play to win.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good tips there. We're going to highlight a bunch of the 5 lists from people, top 5 lists from people who've replied that we think are especially valuable and kind of break down what they're saying. At the end, I'll give you my top 5 list that I created.
I will say that like the you can't beat, like, don't try to play around cards that you can't beat if your opponent casts them is like a big one, right?
It's huge.
Of just being like, oh man, I can be scared of this meat hook massacre the entire time.
Exactly.
And try to quote unquote play around it. But the fact is, if they have it, I'm just going to lose
you're not going to win.
Game. So I might as well try to win right now before and then if it happens, it happened.
And 100%.
There was nothing that I could have done about it.
This is a great tip for aggressive players. I know I spent a lot of times early on when I was playing Magic being like, oh, how am I going to play around this sweeper? What'll I do if they settle the wreckage? That one you can play around a little bit. But what I'm trying to say is, there was no answer. If they played it, I lost. So I've got to do the one thing that I can control, which is play to win from the situation in which they do not have that card.
Yeah, such an important one. Here's a reply from D Gallon MTG. 1, realize that no game of Magic is ever played perfectly.
Well, speak for yourself, Derek. JK.
2, take a moment after you untap and draw to plan out the entire turn. I really get ahead of myself so much.
Oh, so do I.
So many times.
Absolutely.
So many times I've just like played the wrong, like without thinking, I'll just like put a land onto the battlefield and I'm like, that wasn't it.
No, 100%. I 100% need to listen to this.
Yes.
There's so many games I lost because of a decision I made sloppily on turn 2.
Yes. Or like my brain didn't even register it as a decision.
Right, exactly.
There have been times when it's just like playing like werewolves, like I untap on turn 3 and I'll just be like, okay,
Autopilot.
go to combat. And I'm like, I had a Tovolar in my hand, you absolute idiot.
Yes, and Arena exacerbates this because it's so easy to play fast on Arena and also to be like browsing on your phone or having another tab open or whatever while not being present in the game. And I just kick myself so often for mistakes that I could have avoided so easily. Number 3, ahead, reduce variance. Behind, increase variance. I love this way of putting it.
Yeah.
So you're going to try to make sure your opponent can't win when you're in a position of power.
Yes. Trying to be like, okay, giving them as few draw steps as possible. I think is a very big way.
Yes.
Which is why I also love this, like, if you're behind, just create chaos is what it feels like to me. Right?
Skew towards chaos.
Anytime that you think you're losing, and this goes for life, just create some chaos.
Yes, 100%.
Okay, not actually endorsed for maybe your life, but sometimes think about it.
I mean, you can still be playing, if you're playing conservatively and you're behind in the game, ask yourself why.
Yeah.
Okay, this is a lesson from my dad, everybody.
Wow.
Mr. Bartholdi coming in with this lesson. He was a hockey coach for a long time. And he would pull the goalie a lot of times when you're behind in a game so that you can add an additional player to your team and try and take advantage of the fact that you are behind. He would say you don't protect a loss.
Yeah.
Right? Because if you're going to lose, you're going to lose anyway. So you might as well do whatever you can to win.
Oh.
Pull the goalie.
Pull the goalie. All right.
There you go.
I like it.
So that's my analogy there.
Next, ask yourself, quote, who is the beatdown a lot?
Yeah, this is a great tip, especially
it's good to know.
Yeah.
Also, I've noticed this, especially in Neon Dynasty. I feel like it does change a lot.
Yes, it does.
It can change it's a slow change, but then all of a sudden the moment hits and you're like, oh, we've swapped.
Yes.
My opponent and someone was the beatdown and now it is back and now it is the other way.
Yeah, and this is a great tip, especially if you're a beginning player, to recognize who is the person who is trying to deal damage and who is the person who is on the defense. And once you identify that, you can adapt your play style to take advantage of that information that you now know.
Yeah.
Right? There's a great article about it. It came out 1,000,000 years ago. You can search it. Who's the beatdown?
And 5, play against people who are better than you.
1,000%. This is probably the best tip that there is out there, honestly. Like, you learn infinite playing against somebody who's better than you. Infinite.
Next up is from Sammy T MTG. 1, be open-minded despite success. That's a good point. If you're winning a lot, doesn't mean you're perfect.
That's so true. 2, put in time, practice, research. Yes.
Yeah, of course.
Yep.
3, play every match as you would if you were at the highest level.
Yeah, that's what we were talking about earlier.
Yeah, very smart. Sometimes if I feel like I've been being sloppy, I'll slow down and I'll pretend I'll do voices of commentators in my head to make myself slow down.
Oh my gosh.
And I'd be like, oh, don't do something that these fake commentators in your head would call you an idiot for.
Oh my gosh, I've never thought about that before. Just having the little person on your shoulder.
A little voice in your head being like, oh, and now they're like,
look
oh,
what she's doing.
Now she's going to
she's
do
played
this.
that land. Seems like a mistake.
Exactly, right? It's like, oh, if there's a little voice in the back of your head kind of like talking about what you're doing, you're like, oh, I'm not going to do something so dumb. I'm going to slow down and think about it for a sec.
Yeah, the way that I force myself to slow down and think about it is to put on music when I play because that distracts my brain enough because, of course, my brain always wants to be doing 5 things at any given moment. Thank you, world that we live in. So I'll put my phone in another room so I can't look at it when I'm playing, and I'll turn on music, which I guess satisfies that distraction function enough to be able to focus on what I'm doing.
Nice.
Number 4, network. You can't do it all.
Yeah, great point.
Yeah.
Having people as resources that you can reach out to, just being like, okay, what's good in this format? You can't be an expert on every constructed format.
And we'll hear this from all the time from teams when they play in the top events. They'll say, well, half of the team took this format, half the team took this other format. Mm-hmm. This person's job was specifically X. This person's job was specifically Y.
Swap all that info.
Exactly.
5, remember you aren't owed anything despite the previous 4.
That's so true. Even if you think you are the better player in the matchup, you think you brought the better deck, you think you should, quote unquote, have won the game, check yourself.
Don't be a meanie.
No, you are not owed anything by anyone ever. Even if you are the better player, even if you did choose a better deck, even if your opponent misplayed, you are not owed the win. That is why Magic is one of the greatest games out there because at any time, anybody can win. It's not chess, okay? Thank you.
This one is from @MTG Dad. 1, play more limited.
Yep.
We agree. Of course we agree. 1,000% we agree.
Yes. So many constructed players are like, you get so many excellent, especially combat skills from playing limited.
Because limited is a combat format.
Yes. Creatures matter, combat matters, and it's very difficult, and you'll become better at constructed if you become better at limited. Also, you'll have as many wild cards as you want.
Yeah.
On Arena.
2, no more. Obviously, more limited. No, more.
Yeah.
Okay.
That person's all about limited, and we are here from it.
Very much agree about it. This one is from Lamoris Cards. 1, get lots of format knowledge. You can't play around cards you don't know about.
Oh, gosh. This is so important.
All the time.
Yes.
All the time.
Even
so
in
many
limited,
tricks in a format that will just be like, I didn't know that was there.
You're like, oh, is there giant growth in this format? Think. Wow, if you know, how much more information do you have?
I mean, this is now obvious and a big one, but when your opponent in constructed leaves up 4 mana, and then it's your turn, don't attack. There's a wandering emperor.
They have a wandering emperor.
She's there. She in there.
Yep. 100%. And I think you can expand this out to when you play a constructed format, to just know what other decks in the metagame to expect when you show up at a tournament. Because if you're playing against somebody blind and you don't know what kind of stuff they're going to be playing, it's going to be a lot harder for you. If you know, hey, they're probably doing this on turn 2, they're probably leaving this up on turn 3, you're going to feel so much better.
Yeah. 2, be real with yourself when you make a mistake. Otherwise, you won't learn from it.
Yes.
Great point.
You know what we love to do as Magic players?
Argue.
Well, yes, number 1. But we also love to tell a bad beat story where we were the victim of uncontrollable circumstances.
But
right?
Were you?
Were you really?
Sometimes the answer is yes, but a lot of times the answer is no.
Be real with yourself. Learn to take that mistake, learn to take that defeat, and learn from it. Make it worth something in the end and not worth nothing.
This one is related to some of the other stuff we've talked about. 3, your ego will hurt more than help. It's okay to lose, and no player is beneath you.
Yep, exactly.
4, always be evaluating your next play and be plotting out how you see the game going for multiple turns.
Yeah.
It's quite hard sometimes.
Yeah.
But do you know what? It's a good exercise, and the more you practice it, the better you get at it.
Number 5, play to your outs. You can't be loss averse in a zero-sum game. Play to win, not to avoid losing. There we go. Same advice as before from Maria's dad. And number 6,
pull the goalie.
If it's not fun, why bother? I think that's important to remember, of course.
Yes.
You always want to be having fun. Otherwise, why are you doing it? You know what I mean?
Especially because, if you are not having fun, then you're eventually going to stop.
Yeah, that's true.
Not a way to get better.
And you're not going to put in the work to learn and to get better either because it wasn't fun in the first place.
This one starts with 1, draft the unfamiliar lane.
Yeah, I love this one. Do something new. Try something new in draft.
I always hate drafting red, and it takes me a little while to come around to it in any given format.
In any format, period.
In Neon Dynasty, though, I'm right. So
yeah, I mean, that's true. That is true. But I've seen people draft excellent mono red decks.
That's very true. It's true.
That are running 13 lands.
Hot.
I've seen
spicy.
I've seen it. So yeah, it can be done. It can be done.
2, utilize your sideboard.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
So many professional players will say that this is the number one thing.
Yeah. It's where you get an edge.
It's where you get the edge.
Like having precisely like the best sideboard plan for a game.
And this goes for limited as well, everybody. A lot of people don't sideboard in limited, but you really should take the time to think about it, especially in sealed, what you can do to get an advantage in game 2.
3, deconstruct decks at the end of the night and examine the curves, roles that cards have played.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea for if you're playing in a limited tournament or something and you've drafted a couple of times or whatever, even if you're doing side events. And I'm imagining a tournament
Just being
that
like,
exists
was this card
IRL.
good? Did it play a role?
Exactly.
Did it do a thing?
Number 4, always ask for feedback. I love this. I love asking people what I could have done differently and showing them my sealed builds.
Yeah. 5, have a starting hand with a strong plan.
There it is. Yay, my favorite tip. Yeah, it's great. And finally, we're going to stop with advice here from none other than Jean-Emmanuel Duprat, who replied to this tweet.
Yes. Jean-Emmanuel, always in the top 8 Duprat.
Yep. I mean, this guy is filthy.
Yeah.
Like,
just an exceptional Magic player.
Do you think he is going to make the top 8 at the new Capenna Championship?
Like, if you had to give me, if I either had to, like, put my chip in for yes or no, I would go with yes.
Isn't that absurd?
Yeah, like, yes.
There are hundreds of players.
There are so few players for whom you would say, like, okay, I'm going to give you the binary option for this player. You either have to choose yes or no. Will they be in the top 8?
Yeah.
And you're going to choose yes. It's like him and, like, Paolo. The end of my list.
The end. So here's his number 1 tip. Take your time. Your autopilot may be good, but it's not perfect.
Yeah.
And we've been talking about this being kind of a little bit sloppy, playing on instinct, which is something I do like to do. It's just kind of how I have more fun playing Magic. However, it can lead to game losses for sure.
2, play multiple formats / deck types. In addition to being refreshing, diversity will give you a wider perspective on the game.
I love to do this, especially when I'm preparing for a constructed tournament. I will, since I have a million wild cards, since I do draft a lot, I will construct other decks that are in the metagame, and I will play those decks, even if I know I am not going to bring that deck to the tournament, because it gives me familiarity with what my opponents will be trying to do at any given turn, and it just makes my decisions more instinctive when I'm playing in that tournament and kind of just helps me feel better about I know what's coming from my opponent at any given moment.
Yeah. 3, listen to people who you think are better than you. Also listen to people who you think are worse.
Oh.
Being, quote, good at Magic is a very abstract notion. Different people are good at different aspects of the game, and it's common bias to focus on the ones you're already good at.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. Did we do 2, or did I skip it on accident?
No, we did 2.
Okay. I was looking for his tweets to make sure
did we do 2?
Did we?
Yes, we did.
Okay.
Number 4, on that note, think about all the things outside the game that you can control. Sleep, food, music, improvement at Magic isn't limited to the decks you pick and the plays that you make.
This is kind of what you were talking about, like limiting distractions.
Yes, for sure. Like getting a good night's sleep before a big tournament, making sure that you have snacks. We know we're big on snacks here.
So big
at Good Luck High Five. And a lot of players, I can't count the number of times players have done well at a tournament when they're like, yeah, I feel great about where I'm at in my life.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Honestly, feeling good about where you're at, like waking up refreshed, being like all the things I could control, we're in a good place. I feel healthy outside of the game, impacts how you do inside the game too.
And 5, in the long run, winning a game matters less than making the right decisions. Making the right decisions matters less than understanding what they were and why. Focus on understanding.
Oh, that's so great.
That's great. Yeah, it's not about the outcome. It's about, did you take the right path each time that a path came up? And just knowing when there was a path to choose from. Like, if you trotted down like the right fork in every fork, but you never knew that there was a fork, you were just going which way you wanted to go.
Always know if there's a fork.
Always know if there's a fork.
Because you don't want to be using a spoon
if there's a fork.
To eat the macaroni if there's a fork.
Embarrassing for you.
Okay, so I made my own top 5 list after looking at all of these lists, and we talked about one of them already at the top of this segment. Number 1, play with people better than you, which we love to do when we played with the Pirate Boys, when we do like a friend draft, you know, and just playing with them, honestly.
Having friends.
You're just like,
what a time. What a time it was.
Seeing other people casually, having friends. Just playing with them, including they've made like the top 8 of events routinely, made me think about, oh my gosh, that's what I should be doing.
Yeah, for sure.
Copying somebody in a limited format. I mean, like, do it. You know what I mean?
Sometimes I still hear back from, I don't remember like where it was, if we were like streaming or something, but like Ephro just being like, but why are you doing that?
Yeah.
And so sometimes when I make a decision, I just ask myself in his very like dry way, like, why are you doing that?
Why are you doing that? Why are your creatures attacking?
Why are you doing that? And I'm like, why am I? Okay, good to know.
Yeah. Number 2, play to outs, whether you're losing or winning. Yep, we talked about that. Number 3, keep a starting hand that does something or that does the Dex thing. Yeah. Especially the Dex thing is what I mean when I'm talking about a constructed format. Like if your hand is just like, oh, I have some creatures and some lands, probably not good enough. You probably want to be doing what your deck wants to do, especially in best of 1. And
I feel like especially with Neon Dynasty drafts, this is so true. Because if you draft like a really sweet, say, Ninjas deck, like blue-black, but then you keep a hand that's all like maybe the couple of more expensive cards that you drafted, your deck's not going to perform well when you draw your cheap cards late.
Exactly.
Like,
it's not going to do the ninja
about
thing.
Tempo, so you need to have a starting hand that's going to do some stuff early. Otherwise, your deck is not going to function.
No, it will just lose.
Yeah.
Number 4, know the other decks in the meta inside and out. This means having a good sideboard guide to bring with you to the tournament. Oftentimes, pros will post sideboard guides online ahead of tournaments. You can crib those notes, or you can make your own based on your testing. And it also means playing those other decks if possible, not just playing against them.
Yeah, knowing what they want to do so you can try and swipe it, you know. That was me, like, you know, if you're swooping in and stopping them, or you're bringing the paper cutter down and chopping it off.
The paper cutter.
You know what I'm talking about? Those big scary ones.
Yeah, that's some noise.
Really spooky. Paper guillotine is what it is.
Paper guillotine. Number 5, write down mistakes or things to think about later. Yeah, I definitely think this is great immediately after the game too, because in 5 minutes you won't remember anymore. At least I won't. My memory's like, that game's gone by, erase. So I write it down when I'm still sitting at the table after I've packed up my stuff. So I have better recall when I'm revisiting again later. I probably write down what my opponent played too.
Yeah.
So that's our list.
Wow.
And also a lot of other people's lists of top 5 things to think about to get better at Magic.
What's yours?
We tweeted out this question earlier today at GLHF Magic.
Yeah,
so you can go check out that Twitter thread. I asked for your number 1 tip.
Only one.
Just one to kind of keep it easy, a little bit simpler. And so many people replied with such great tips that I highly encourage you to go check it out. At GLHF Magic is where you can follow us on Twitter and see everybody's great replies to just their top tip, their number 1 top tip at how to get better at Magic.
All right, Maria.
Yes.
I'm here to bring you episode 3 of the Neon Dynasty story.
I'm so excited. I mean, we're coming up on New Capenna here, so.
Yes, I know, right?
We gotta wrap this up.
We gotta get through the rest of these in our next 2 episodes. Okay, so this is episode 3. If you'll remember last time, it was when poor Kato's friend, Tameshi, died because, he was working with...
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Jingataxis and the Phyrexians, and there was like the warehouse, and he burned down the warehouse, and Kato was like, "What are you doing?" And Tameshi was like, "I'm sorry."
Jingataxis was in the warehouse looking all creepy and weird, right?
Yes, and had a bunch of kami also.
That's right.
Like in crates that they were helping.
And
to like that they were moving to a new place.
Lightpaws was there and was like, "This is the work of the futurists," right?
That was in the first episode when the Emperor got kidnapped.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
And Kato was like, it was a man with a metal arm. And Lightpaws was like, it must be the Futurists. Okay. And Kato was like, no.
Okay, got it.
Okay, so this is a little bit after that time, not long after that time where Kato had been like, hey, I'm in this warehouse. My friend died. I'm sad. What's going on?
And that was exactly the text.
Yeah, exactly. What's going on? Oh, and right before his friend died, he was like, Tezzeret.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yes, and Kato was like, what? Okay, so Kato has been doing like a lot of looking around, and he figures out that the way to find out more about Tezzeret is to go see the Nezumi, which are like a race of big rats that live in swamps and are very suspicious of people.
That's how I feel some days. Living in a swamp.
A big rat who lives in a swamp and is suspicious of people.
Yep.
Honestly, that describes my life scarily well. Anyways, and so people don't really go and visit them much because also like the swamp is poisonous and the Nezumi are basically always like, if you visit us and we don't like you, we'll poison you.
Oh, okay.
But
fair enough.
Kato had been like looking for all this info on Tezzeret, and so he had like found these whispers of like a while back, like a long while back now, Tezzeret, or like a man with a metal arm, had visited this Nezumi village and ended up burning to the ground.
Oh.
And there was only one survivor. And so he's going looking for that survivor. And also there was like a story about, this is, I think, in the days before Nicol Bolas was vanquished.
Okay.
Because it talks about like Tezzeret had like stayed in the village or had like been injured or something. And then a big dragon came and found him and took him away.
Oh, did Nicol Bolas give him his metal arm?
I think so.
Is that
Although
canon?
I don't know.
Anyways,
we can talk about Tezzeret more in the future. I'll look up more on him.
Okay,
so anyways, like Tezzeret had burned this Nezumi village to the ground while looking for some stuff.
Man, burning a swamp to the ground is harder than a normal village.
Difficult to accomplish.
It's very moist.
So anyways, one of the survivors was a kid called Nashi. And so, you know, it was very traumatic for Nashi, obviously. His village burned to the ground, and now everyone's hiding him, and everyone's like, we don't know. There is no Nashi in Ba Sing Se. That's an Avatar: The Last Airbender reference, anyways. Okay, so, Kato is like in this swamp now, and is going from village to village, and all of the Nezumi are like, get out of here, we're not talking to you. And so finally he finds one where there's like, he feels like, oh, there's something going on here, right? Like the Nezumi are just like, no, get out of here. But he sees some kami that are kind of like, like he says Nashi's name, and the kami start being like, whisper to each other. And he's like, this town. Someone in this town knows where Nashi is.
Okay.
But they're like, get out of here. And so he leaves, but then he sends his adorable little Tanuki drone to go and watch. And sure enough, someone in the village sends a little note sends a note to Nashi somewhere. And so the little Tanuki drone follows the note, or I want to say it's like how did they say it?
I was hoping that Kato would dress up as a giant rat to get in. Disguise check.
Someone in the Nezumi in the village like sends a kami note, and sends like a kami with a note to Nashi being like, watch out, someone's looking for you. But the little Tanuki drone follows the kami with the note.
Follow the paper trail.
And Kato follows the Tanuki, and they go to Otawara, which is the city in the sky of the futurists.
Sick.
So anyways, the Nezumi's drone vanishes, and Kato is like, it's okay, I'm in the right, now I know, right?
Yeah.
Like Otawara is Nashi is somewhere. So he's like looking around, and then he runs into none other than our good old friend Tamio, who is currently just her normal self.
Normal Tamio. Okay.
Normal Tamio.
All right.
And Tamio is like they have like a little disagreement, and then they have like a little fight. And that's basically what it is.
When two planeswalkers meet, generally they gotta fight first.
They have a little
scuffle,
disagreement, and then they have a little fight. Anyways, it's very funny because Tamio at the beginning is like, "It's not my wish to hurt you," and Kato is like, "Give it a minute, you don't know me yet."
Ooh, spicy.
Right, very spicy.
I like
very
it.
Funny. Really enjoy it. Anyways, Tamio is like, Stop looking for Nashi. Don't say Nashi's name. Stop looking for Nashi. Don't talk about him. Don't talk to him. Get your butt out of here. And Kato is like, sorry, can't. Gotta talk to him. And she's like, then why do you have a sword? Conversations don't need swords.
Nice retort.
Yes. And Kato is like, yeah, but you're here, and you're the one who surprised me. So anyways, stay away from my family, Tamio says. And Kato is like, what? And Tamio is like, yeah, he's my son. I adopted him. Okay.
Oh, right? That's right. Tamio
cute.
adopt.
Tamio adopted Nashi, and she's just like, get out of here. And so they have like a little fight. And Kato is like doing pretty well, but then Tamio pulls out her sick scrolls and like reads one that makes him unable to move. It like binds him up.
Don't mess with Tamio's scrolls, everybody.
Exactly.
Let this be a lesson to you.
Yeah. So anyways, Tamio like reads a scroll, and then she's like, okay, I'm going to make you forget all this happened. So it pulls out a scroll, and she's like, if you won't leave Nashi alone, I'll make you forget him. And Kato is like, no, don't do this.
Tamio pulls out a scroll that says, I'm going to make you never like cheeseburgers ever again once I read this. No, don't!
It's like hypnosis for quitting smoking.
Do you want to quit smoking? Unfurl scroll.
Here we go. Anyways, so yeah. Kato is like, please don't make me forget. I'm looking for the Emperor. And Tamio is like, nah, she doesn't know anything about the Emperor. But Kato is like, but he knows about Tezzeret. And Tamio is like, what?
Oh.
Anyways.
You should have said.
Exactly. So they're like, okay, now they're going to be allies. That's nice.
Oh, well, things that a conversation could have fixed. Example, 5,222,000.
Yep. So many things just a conversation can fix. They go to Tamio's house. Kato looks at all of these watercolor paintings that she has, and he's like, these are of other planes. You're a planeswalker. And Tamio is like, you would only know that because you're a planeswalker. And they're both like, yep, you got me. We're both planeswalkers.
I would feel like a planeswalker can sense another planeswalker,
You would think, but I guess not. They had that whole fight.
Spidey spark sense.
Yeah, they didn't know.
Oh, okay.
They didn't know until he looks at Tamio's paintings of other planes, and he's like, these are other planes.
Does she do watercolors? Is this?
It looks like,
nice.
Everyone needs a hobby.
Even planeswalkers need a hobby. Come on.
Exactly. So anyways, they have like a little chat. And Kato's like, oh, you're gathering all this information on the multiverse. And Tamio does her classic thing. She's like, yeah, it's my duty to preserve the truth of the multiverse.
I don't know if you know this. I'm a moon sage.
Yes, exactly. And so Kato's like, please tell me about Tezzeret. Anyways, and then Nashi is there. And Tamio's like, my son Nashi. And he's like, what's up? I was looking for you all over the swamp. Anyways, and it turns out that also Nashi is a futurist who's working in building illicit tech. Just out of like recycled parts. And he's like, oh, can I ask you all about your drone? Here's a million questions about your drone. It's cute.
That's cute.
Anyways, and so Kato is like, yeah, here, you can look at my Tanuki drone. It's very cute.
It is. I would have many questions about a Tanuki drone, including where do I get one?
Exactly. Oh, also, Tamio is telepathic. So Tamio, like, Nashi is in the room and they're talking about drones, and Tamio, to Kato in his head, is like, don't ask Nashi about Tezzeret. Like, I'm trying to let him just like be at peace.
Yeah, after that horrible trauma.
Because after this horrible trauma, let's not talk to my kid about the awfully traumatic thing that happened to him.
Oh, that's a good mob move.
Yeah, and Kato's like, yeah, sure, fine. And so that he learns all about Tezzeret, that he definitely is like the guy who kidnapped the Emperor way back a long time ago.
So Tamio just tells him?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, Tamio is just like, yep, that was definitely him, metal arm, etc. Bad dude, etc., etc.
I wish that was Tezzeret's flavor text. Metal arm, bad dude, etc., etc.
Anyways, and Tamio's like, what he's doing here is it seems like he's researching Kami, but I'm trying to find out.
Sure.
So, anyways, then also Tamio is like, oh, okay. First of all, he's trying to find something. He's trying to make a weapon called the reality chip. And there's like kind of, it was like what Tezzeret was trying to use the reality chip on Kyodai back on the night when he kidnapped the Emperor.
Right.
Which is like maybe part of what made the Tanuki, like the Kami of the Spark, like leap into existence, is maybe what like ignited the Wanderer's spark, the Emperor's spark. Anyways, we think that he's trying to use this reality chip to control Kami. Anyways. But instead, the Emperor got a spark. And then Tamio is also like, oh, hey, I also met the Wanderer.
Oh.
Back on Ravnica, right? During War of the Spark.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah, exactly. She was like, oh, she's like, the Emperor became a planeswalker. And Kato is like, but why hasn't she come home then if she can planeswalk? And Tamio is like, oh, the reality chip that gave her spark, like, made her spark unstable. So she actually can't control where she planeswalks to.
Oh, wow.
She just kind of gets yanked wherever by her planeswalker spark.
So she's
a real bummer.
She's Quantum Leap.
Yes. Yes. She basically is Quantum Leap. Her spark is just like, next jump.
When will her next leap be home?
But Tamio is like, maybe if we can get the reality chip that they were trying to make, then that would stabilize the Wanderer's spark. And then she would be able to actually move between planes the way that she wants to. And Kato is like, okay, it's probably in Tameshi's lab. Gonna go back there. And Tamio is like, you're being very quick and reckless. And Kato's like, that's the way I roll.
That's how I roll, Tamio.
Exactly. Tamio's like, let's make a plan. Out. And Kato is like, I'm already on my way to the lab. I'm sorry.
I was already walking there 20 minutes ago. Sorry. Also, I need the reality chip because it's really good in draft and I want to put it in my deck.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so he goes to the lab and sure enough, like this time he gets in to the actual lab.
Yes.
And that he had his like key card that he took from Tameshi when Tameshi died.
Okay. Very smart.
And he looks around and he's like, things in here have gotten real dark and real messed up. There's like Kami that look like they have been experimented on and it's like sad and bad.
I'm imagining the scene from Aliens where there's the tanks with everybody with versions of her floating in there that are all like combined with alien DNA.
Whoa.
Ugh.
Yeah. Sad, bad stuff. Like lots of like weird liquids and metal equipment. And Kato is like, this is bad.
Great.
Anyways, and he looks around and like, sure enough, there's like, he finds what looks like a reality chip.
It says reality chip under it.
It says it on it. Well, because he had seen that like weird drawing in Tameshi's office in the last episode.
I see.
Right?
Okay.
They had seen the blueprint on a drive.
The blueprints.
And was like, oh, okay, this is like, maybe this is it. So he takes it. And sure enough, as he's like walking out and he's like, take that, Tamio, and wanting to make a plan.
I've just got the chip. This was easy.
Exactly. But then he walks out of the lab and there's Jin-Gitaxias being like,
huge and evil and spooky.
Yes, exactly. Jin-Gitaxias says, quote, your fleshling eyes suggest familiarity, but knowledge of our meeting evades my memory. The existence of a second Jin-Gitaxias on this plane is highly improbable. Therefore, your recognition must be accepted as genuine.
Wow.
Anyways.
Some people's brains, you know?
Yeah, exactly. And so then there's like, right, Kato's like, uh-oh.
I just imagine everything you have Kato say is actually what's written in this story.
The actual text.
Yep.
In this.
I love it.
Anyways, and then there's like 6 ninjas that are working with Jingataxis who show up. And then Kato is doing like a very good job fighting all of them, honestly. And he's like, this is not going great. So he like throws essentially a smoke bomb and gets out of there. Hightails it.
Great.
Is like, okay, running. So he runs, but he's obviously being followed. There's like, more fighting, etc., etc. And then there's like they have like a giant mech that they're also using to chase him. And he's like surrounded and he's like, this is bad. Everything's, uh-oh.
Uh-oh.
Maybe Tamio was right and I should have made a plan.
Uh-oh.
And then suddenly, like, just as he's like, cornered by this like giant mech that's like gonna
6
basically
ninjas
eat him alive and a bunch of ninjas. Someone shows up and like slices the mech apart, and it is of course the Wanderer.
Yeah! Wow! She saved the day.
Yes, and he was just like, not only you saved me, but like, oh, you're finally home. Like, anyways, and then Tamio also arrives and is like, this is not what I meant when I said that we should come up with a plan. Like you running off and then getting your butt saved by your friend who finally returned home at just the right moment.
Right? Yeah, exactly.
Wasn't a great plan, but at least it worked. Tamio like reads a little scroll to make the 3 of them invisible to like the ninjas that are still around, and then she's like, let's get out of here. You dummy. You 2 can have like your lovely friends reunion somewhere else.
Well, that's great. Like, he was looking for her and he really didn't have to find her.
She found him.
She found him.
Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah. And now he has the reality chip. And they're gonna, we'll see what happens next.
Oh, wow. When you get your very first reality chip, what do you do with it with your jellyfish friend?
Oh, man. I mean, at this point, I think that the Wanderer needs the jellyfish chip.
Yeah. To look at the top of her deck.
Yeah. To be like, please let me planeswalk where I want instead of just being randomly quantum leaped around the multiverse.
I'm glad we had quantum leap in this story, honestly. Yeah. Weren't they going to make a reboot of that? Where is it?
I don't know.
Anyway.
Well. Next week we'll bring you the next 2. We'll try and have a magic story time so that we can wrap this
exciting
up.
Conclusion.
Yes.
Of Neon Dynasty story time.
Yeah, because we know part of where it's headed.
Yeah, we do. It's dark. It's not looking good.
Real sad.
It's time to say thank you to our sponsor, Ultra Pro.
Yes. Would you like to feel so fancy?
You know I would.
Well, Maria, I have excellent news for you.
I would like to be the fanciest player at F&M, please.
Oh, well, would you like to also indulge your tactile senses?
Well, of course.
Well, in that case, we have Emerald Suede for you.
Ooh, look at this.
You can have a deck box in Emerald Suede. You can have a binder in Emerald Suede.
Excellent.
Emerald Suede.
Yes, Emerald Suede from Ultra Pro, the fanciest of accessories for your magical life.
Yes, and we often talk about the flip top deck boxes.
Oh, I love them.
But there's also the ones with the dice tray in the bottom. So often,
yes,
we talk about the ones that already hold 100 cards.
Oh, wow.
But these ones hold 100 cards and have a dice tray.
You simply must have a dice tray attached to your deck box here in 2022.
You must.
You simply must. Yeah, Emerald Suede products from Ultra Pro. They're from. I just love Ultra Pro's fancier line of stuff.
Yes,
because
it's so nice.
We run the gamut here. You can get anything you want from Ultra Pro, including all of these super sweet high end products.
Okay, put their gravity dice in your Emerald Suede deck box. You are living the high life.
You are good to go.
You are good to go.
Royalty bows to you when you use Emerald Suede from Ultra Pro. Well, everybody, that's this episode of Good Luck High Five. Thank you so much, as always, for hanging out with us. Mm-hmm. Thank you to everybody who's a Patreon supporter. You keep this show happening and all the other stuff we mentioned at the top of the show, including our sponsorship of the VML this season, which is super exciting.
You can catch Maria casting the VML this Friday.
Yeah, I'm going to be on casting this Friday. It's such a fantastic tournament, a chance to look at standard here when we don't have a ton of standard tournaments happening.
Yeah.
Which I think is really exciting, and it's just a great league all around. We're so
cool.
happy to be sponsors.
Thank you as well to our sponsors, Card Kingdom and Ultra Pro. Really just two of the nicest sets of people that we could possibly ask to work with, who are out there making fantastic stuff and honestly just being fantastic members of the Magic community.
Remember, if you want 5% off on any Ultra Pro merchandise, use the code GLHF at checkout.
Nice.
You get 5% off, save yourself some money, and support the show at the same time, which I think is really cool.
Yeah.
Card Kingdom, you can use the code GLHF to get an extra sticker or a token in your order.
Nice.
Which is really cool for totally free.
Yeah.
So exciting stuff.
We'll see you next week for more exciting stuff.
I mean, can we promise that? Pretty confidently, I think.
Honestly, yeah, I was like, can we?
Actually, yeah. New Capenna is coming up. Battle for Baldur's Gate. We just got our first look at that. The Commander Legends set.
We have to wrap up Storytime Dynasty.
Oh, okay.
All right.
Let's just have next week happen now.
It'll be good.
Oh, also, the OP announcement is coming up this Thursday.
Okay, so we'll have a lot to talk about next week. We will see you there.